Happy Thursday, everybody.
Oh, wait. It's Friday.
Oh, it is Friday. See,
Yeah.
you already got me messed up. I guess everybody
Uh,
knows what my opening intro is for everything that we
yes.
do.
I'm sorry. Yes, welcome to the another episode of Cloud Foundry Weekly Live, episode 49, I believe. And yes, we're on Friday today. Both our guest and Nikki agreed to work around my schedule this week. So sorry we weren't live at our normal time yesterday, but I had some other conflicts going on. But yeah, we're here today.
That's right. How's things going?
It's going pretty good. Weather is warm. So I am enjoying that a little bit. So and yeah, well, shout out to Keith. Yeah. Yeah.
I disagree. We're making Friday better because now you get to drink a beer and listen to us. You get to listen
Yeah.
all about Cloud Foundry. What are you talking about,
Exactly.
Keith? This is a better Friday.
And we're kind of leading into the weekend before St. Patty's Day. So hey,
Yep.
do what you will, right? But yeah, how about you, Nikki? How are things in your neck of the woods?
It's going good. It is a very, very windy day here. So here in southern Colorado, the wind is, I think, somewhere around 60, 70 miles per hour. Just blew a gutter off my house. So that's always fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Don't know what that has to do with Cloud Foundry, but it's an interesting aside.
There are definitely clouds involved somehow. I don't know.
There you go. It's definitely clouds involved.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess that being said, we're going to be talking a little bit about something called Concourse GPT, which those in the Cloud Foundry community might know this little CI/CD tool called Concourse. So I guess without further ado, let's bring Joey on, our guest here, and we can
I
talk
am
about
so
this
excited to
project.
bring Joey on for multiple reasons. One, look at that studio setup he's got. Color me jealous. That's a great looking studio, Joey.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a chill spot to be. This is in the basement. Also in Colorado, it's so windy today here too.
We're not far from each other, I imagine.
I drove past your neck of the woods on my way to Taos. I recently did a ski trip to Taos and drove right past you. Gave you the.
And look at Joey. He's just doing everything he can to make us jealous. He's got this cool studio. He went skiing. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Once again, all green pipelines on St. Patrick's Day. And I think Joey's going to help us with that, aren't you, Joey?
Absolutely. Yeah. So
I guess we got you're new to the pod, right? So this is your first time. So we gotta ask you the question. Yes, well, we appreciate that. But what was your first CF push experience? Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. So like zooming out a little bit, I came from telecom world. And telecom is very different from Pivotal. But I had been doing like OpenStack there, and we had kind of like a humongous OpenStack cluster. And that's actually why I came to Pivotal, was to work on getting Cloud Foundry deployed cleanly to OpenStack using PCF pipelines, if anybody remembers that. And so my friend Sean Keary and I worked on that. And so my first CF push wasn't actually until I came here and started working on that. So I'm not an application developer. I'm more of a platform person. So tons of OpenStack experience, but I honestly didn't even know what I was getting into when I came to Pivotal. I worked with Mike Baranek at a startup in Boulder before. He went to Pivotal, and that guy's a legend. So he was like, "Hey man, you really need to come over here," and was trying to get me to go over. And then finally, when I went over, I was like, "This is totally amazing," especially coming from the telecom world, just like the Pivotal way. I honestly, when I was working in the telecom world, I was like, I fancied myself, pretty senior developer and all that. And then I came to Pivotal and I was like, I am a complete nobody, like these people are totally amazing. Oh my God. And I've been there since 2016. So I've learned a ton in the time. And it's been really amazing, especially with Cloud Foundry. Cloud Foundry was like, the most fun I've had working on a project. or a platform, including OpenStack. And it was funny, McKinsey came to work at Pivotal, who was the founder of OpenStack. So we used to talk about that often. Yeah, so that was kind of my first CF push. And, I've honestly pushed a lot of customer apps and stuff like that, but not being an app developer, it's all about, the platform for me, Bosch, containers, all that kind of stuff, cloud native,
Man, you brought up a name I haven't heard in a long time. Sean Carey, he's a legend in the services world. A lot of fun to work with. Talk about, he's probably one of the most laid back, chill dudes I've ever met in my life.
He's a bit of a mentor for me personally. Yeah, especially the chillness that he brought. I went on my first gig with him and I didn't know what I was doing at all. He would just throw me in front of the customer and I'd be like, oh, man, and then you just talk through it and you just be yourself, and it went great. So
that seems to be the pivotal way. Me and Nick understand that, just getting thrown in the middle of something and figuring it out. Go.
So you just got I got trial by fire. You figure it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Good deal.
All right, so Concourse.
Yeah.
For those that don't know it, either Joey or Nick, y'all want to explain that out? Joey, we'll leave it up to you first.
Yeah.
Okay, so Concourse is a CI/CD platform which I quite love. I've been working on it for a long time, and it essentially they call it a thing doer, and you deploy Concourse, and you can think of it as sort of any other CI/CD platform, but it's really big in the Cloud Foundry world. So it's a product, and it supports all sorts of automation, and not only does it run on Bosch deployed Concourse and VMs, but there's a nice Kubernetes deployment, which I'll show you here in a second. You can Helm deploy it. It's quite easy. So pipelines are essentially, automation tasks for whatever you want to do. And in the Cloud Foundry world, to me, we have a reference pipeline, which is quite humongous. It supports things like deploying via Opsman, running upgrades to tiles, deploying the different products, managing certificates, and kind of all kinds of stuff. And we'll get into the reference pipeline here in a minute, but we use Concourse extensively. And what I love about it is it really allows customers and platform teams to manage a humongous number of foundations with just a few platform engineers, because it's all that automation is doing most of the work.
Yeah, I always love seeing the pipelines, especially in some of the internal build things, and seeing just like the immense complexity and how many things it's doing. It is definitely it's great at being a thing doer, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And we'll shout out to Keith again, fly baby fly. So yeah. So many references here.
And we had an episode, I think it was, that was episode 13, where we did a talk with Tony Elmore. And Tony really laid out a really good kind of reference architecture for Concourse, how to even make it better. Talked about being able to do some things in parallel. That was a really good talk. We'll make sure we link to that in the show notes when we get done. But Concourse I think it's the only supported method that we use on the commercial side for doing automation within the foundation itself. I mean, you can use other tools, but Nick, I mean, this was something you used when you were a customer. It's something I used. This is really something that made the automation of Cloud Foundry a lot easier.
Oh yeah,
almost it's brain dead.
Yeah, it's almost autonomous platform operations or something like that. Like, just it's brilliant. So and then Joey's been working on kind of this this new project. So like we're calling ConcourseGPT. So I guess Joey, like, can you want to talk about what you're envisioning? Like, well, and I guess you could tell the audience what it is, but like, what was your motivation or your envisioning? Like, what
yeah,
why did you start it, and how do you kind of see it going forward, type of thing?
Well, turns out like I'm kind of lazy. No, I'm just kidding.
Me and you both.
Yeah. So these pipelines are, YAML based, and they can get extremely humongous. And and you can break them up and do certain things, but that really doesn't help sort of stitching the whole thing together conceptually. And a lot of our customers and us start with the reference pipeline, and then they build on from there. And the reference pipeline is like over 1,000 lines of YAML. It's not well documented, and it's sort of left up to an exercise to the platform engineering team to understand all those things and work their way through it, which of course is really the way to learn things. But there's there's kind of an easy way now with these LLMs to ask questions and document things. And so this serves as a reference to existing pipelines. And so you can imagine, the reference pipeline is, like I said, over 1,000 lines of YAML. And, I've seen customer pipelines that are like 3,500 lines of YAML or more, 4,000 lines of YAML. And so just to try and get your head around that, I'll scroll through one of the pipelines once I start sharing my screen. It's crazy. You're like, what is this? And so just, onboarding a new platform engineer. And by the way, we've been doing Cloud Foundry for so long now that, a lot of the folks that have written the existing pipelines have moved on. And, we're bringing in new platform engineers, and you're kind of like, okay, where do we even start with this thing, And
yeah, I could see that being coming new to the team, saying, well, what is this? This thing looks awesome, but I'm going to need a little help understanding what's going on here, right?
Yeah, especially when there's a problem, right? Like when everything's green, you're like, cool. But
yeah.
When some job fails, you're like, uh-oh, what now? Just rerun it? I don't know.
Yeah. And then when it fails again, you're like, I guess I got to figure this out.
Better dig in. Yeah.
All right. So are you ready to get your screen going here? Or,
yeah. So let me see if I can share. I really hope this doesn't make me log out and log back in. All right. So
yeah, this is going to be interesting because, that is something that we see a lot with, developers that we talk to, people that work with Cloud Foundry is, they've had this Concourse pipeline built out for them, but like you said, somebody leaves or, they move to a different role, and jumping in and trying to just understand this wall of YAML that comes out is difficult. So I'm really excited to see what you've got to help make this a little bit more understandable.
All right. So let me move a couple windows here. I think it'll be easier if I share my laptop screen, just so it's not so humongous. So let me.
We've got another one of those big monitor guys like myself.
Yeah. All right. I think this should do it. All right. Any luck?
There we go.
You're up. Yes, sir.
We have landed.
Nice. All right. So I thought I'd take us through from like actually cloning the repo and almost just, do the entire thing step by step. So, it's a bit of a reference for our users here.
Sounds great.
So yeah, just to get started, the repo is here. It's all open source, and it's pretty extensively documented here. There's a getting started, usage, config, and some examples. I included some example pipelines just so people can jump in, and they're short. So to document these pipelines can take a while, especially if they're 3,000 lines of code or whatever. So I think what I'll do is a git clone. So let's start here, and I'll git clone the repo, and we'll literally start from scratch.
Okay.
So we'll cd into the ConcourseGPT directory, and just to take a quick look around here. Well, the interesting stuff is in the source directory here, and so essentially there's a set of scripts in here that document each section of these pipelines, and looking through here, I really feel like if you can understand groups, jobs, resources, and the secrets, you can get your head around like 80 to 90% of the entire pipeline here to start. And any custom resources will be included in this. Surely our customers have custom resources. So that's basically, each one. Oh, I should mention, I wrote this in Bash. And, I know a lot of people are probably like, why would you write this thing in Bash? But I did it intentionally because I feel like our customers, any of the platform engineers that are, using Concourse for Cloud Foundry are probably pretty good at Bash, so it's pretty accessible, and I'll show you how to. I have a little thing that we can edit to get in here, and so Bash seemed like a good choice to me, honestly.
And keeps you out of that vert. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was say thank you for that.
Yeah.
Most people can pick up a Bash script now. Trying to have someone try to pick up some Go app or something like that. Ooh, it can get really confusing pretty fast. So
and there's also
keeps you out of that versioning hell. Keeps you out of worrying about if you got the right dependencies. I mean, Bash works on just about everything. So
yeah,
smart
exactly.
move.
Okay, so that's why it's written in Bash, and also I just kind of love Bash. I've been doing it for I don't even want to say how long. Okay, so basically, then we want to set some. So the first thing we want to do is just set some environment variables, and there's only 3 that we need to work with. And so I'll just pause here and sort of mention. You can use any LLM essentially that you want, as long as it has like a chat endpoint. It'll likely work fine with this. So with that in mind, I'm going to use OpenAI for this one because they're nice and fast, and I know them.
I'm going to ask you a hard question right off the bat because I know something that somebody's probably going to ask. So using a public AI, we did talk about secrets. I mean, is there any risk here of exposing something that maybe the customer doesn't want to expose when you're using the public?
So that is a great question. And if your pipeline is written in a way where the secrets are, are evaluated when the pipeline is run, you pull your secrets from a secret store essentially,
right?
Then no problem. And the reference pipeline does that well. But definitely, if you hard code secrets in your pipeline, do not send those to a public LLM.
Yep. So just make note of that for everybody that's watching along. Before you go and run this, make sure, give yourself a little once over on your pipeline. Make sure you don't have anything in there that you don't want the public to know about.
That's right.
Yeah. Or you could try it out with a Gen AI tile and run it on your own LLM on your own
great
premise
segue.
and be fine.
Yeah. Much less risk there.
Yes. But yes.
So
go ahead.
Well, that segues nicely into this is a great use for the Gen AI tile. It really is. It's like a really nice introduction to to something I think that is quite useful, and a nice use case for internal LLMs. So anyway, in this case, we're going to create this file and source it and export these variables. And in my case, I have already set up my Open API key, and I don't want to expose that to the audience here. So I'm going to do this.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I was like, if he's gonna put his key on there, I hope he's gonna rotate it after the show. But yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So that should do the trick. So let's source that file. So that's it. So now I'm all set up. I can run this thing. So let's see. So okay, before I run it, let's just take a quick look at Concourse. So we have that set up. If I jump to Concourse here, this is Concourse deployed with the reference architecture. I haven't run this pipeline because I don't have a TAS environment. But if you just fly up the reference pipeline with the secrets set up, this is what you're going to get. This is what it looks like. So those familiar with Concourse, understand what this all is. But I just kind of wanted to demonstrate how complicated just the reference pipeline is. And when you start adding all your own stuff in here, it can get pretty hairy. And this is the reference pipeline. In this same pipeline YAML exists the certificate rotation stuff. And these are called groups. So this is group reference pipeline, and this is group certificate rotation. And, these are all the resources that it uses. And these gray boxes, they're gray because, they haven't been run. And this is kind of like, our users are familiar with what these pipelines look like. So this is the actual reference pipeline. So what I'd like to do is grab this thing using the fly command. So you can imagine a customer would deploy this, and we will fly this pipeline down. So I have the command here, and we're going to stick that in a file, and we'll call it examples advanced reference .yaml. So that grabbed the actual pipeline from our Concourse server, and we can now look at that. So you can see that this is just a massive file. And, again, this project is sort of like helping users not have to, parse this with their brains, right off the bat. And, for all these foundations, there's many of these, each foundation has, many of these pipelines. So anyway, it's a pretty big cognitive load to kind of grok all that stuff. So that's our pipeline file. And I think what I'm going to do now actually is I'm going to run tmux and split my screen here. So I'm going to actually run this. So that one will take a while to run. And while we let that run, I'll talk through some other little things. So, so if I were to say, so there's a command line here. So bin, actually, let me resource my env.sh file. So if I run bin ConcourseGPT, this is the little CLI. And again, this is all written in shell. So there's multiple steps here. The first step is generate pipeline. So let's run that. So if I run bin ConcourseGPT, generate, and then examples advanced boom. Okay, so what this thing is doing is it's actually running now, and it gives us the start time. It tells us the name of the pipeline that we're running. It just takes that from the YAML file name, and then it tries to generate a general overview of the pipeline. This one happens to be so humongous that it breaks it up into multiple requests and asks the LLM to summarize this part. And in this case, it's going to break that pipeline up into two summaries, the first and second, and then it'll combine those summaries and generate like an overview of the entire pipeline. So that's step one. So I'm going to let this thing run and then open another little terminal here. I'd like to kind of show how I came up with the idea now. So using YQ, we can...
And while you're doing that, another question for you, Joey. So, looking at how this is chunking things up, you talked about some large requests. I mean, have you run into any limitations with using, say, ChatGPT for this? Any token limitations? I mean, will this work on the free plan? Do you have to be pro team plan? Have y'all run into anything like that?
The only one that hits the context window limit is the entire pipeline. If you try and jam the entire pipeline in, it won't get it by default. But the other one, as I'll show you here in a second, the other one just sends little bits. It breaks the whole pipeline up. So actually, that's a great segue here. So let's show how this thing works. So So using the YQ command, I'm going to analyze this pipeline that we just downloaded. So again, this is the file that we pulled down from Concourse.
Yep.
And I'm using the YQ command, and I'm saying there's an array in this pipeline file called jobs. There is a key value in here. The key is name, and I want you to print the value for all the jobs that you know about. So if you hit that, you know, I'm going to try and move this little window here. There. So if you hit that, you're going to get, and I'm going to let this processing in the window above run and just take over the whole screen here. So if we run that, this is going to show us these are like all the jobs in this pipeline, right? And this is what clicked for me. This is when I was like, oh, I wonder if we could get this thing to get an LLM to kind of self-document this pipeline. And this command right here is what triggered the whole project, essentially. So now we can get a list of the jobs, but now let's like pick a job and ask just for the code for that one job. So if I were to say, so you'll see there's something in here called stage configure pipeline, apply telemetry. So that's what I have my example here. So now it's like, okay, for this job in the pipeline, just show me this particular job code, the code for this particular job. And what you can see here is that just spits out that particular job, right? From the job name.
Right.
So now all of a sudden you can imagine that you can take all the jobs, you can loop through that job array by name, print the actual job, and prepend a prompt and send that to the LLM, right? So let's do that. Let's see what that looks like. So I'll say, well, here's the prompt I use for jobs. So there's a directory in the project called prompts. And the one that is used to define the jobs is called jobs.md. So if we look at this file, this is the actual prompt that I send to the LLM that says, hey, you know, you're looking at a Concourse job right now. And, you know, there's a similar prompt for groups, secrets, resources, and jobs. And this is what I'm asking the LLM to do for us. Hey, I want you to, you know, format this as Markdown, print, you know, the job name, job description, show me an overview, break the job up into steps, and then I iterated over this a bit, the writing style. This is how I want you to, you know, because you'll get inconsistent writing styles unless you specify clearly what you want. And then at the end, I show the job definition. So if we were to copy that, so copy prompts, jobs, and let's just call it blah. And so then we'll take the job definition that we got and we'll add that to that file. And so this is actually what gets sent to the LLM or similar. So if I look at blah, here is the prompt. And then down below it, here is the job definition, right?
Very nice.
Nice.
That's
cool.
what gets sent. So let's have.
Yeah, can we go back? Generate a. I just wanted to see what you were. I just wanted to read it. It went
Okay,
by
sure.
So fast. Yeah. Separate Markdown document for this Concourse job. Oh,
this is very
awesome.
clean. I commend you on putting this in Markdown. I mean, that's something that
Yeah.
once it gets done, they can publish this extremely easy. Most companies have a way to do that. And it's extremely clean. This is very easy to understand.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the formatting. Oh, this is brilliant. So yeah.
Right.
Very
and
nice.
So you'll notice in here too that I say, tell me the resources that this job uses and print them out in Markdown as resource name. And you know, the astute reader will notice that this is actually a link in Markdown, and I'll get to that one later.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
So let's run this real quick. So there's a CLI command that I'm not using in this project at all, but just for demonstration purposes, if I were to cat pipe the LLM command, this is actually going to send that thing and print it out. So this is exactly what you would get back. I'm actually using the same OpenAI and same model. So this is basically what comes back in Markdown, and you can see it's pretty nice. So we do this for all the components of this pipeline that we break down, right? And so it comes back looking pretty nice. So here you can kind of get the idea of what's happening behind the scenes. And this was kind of the first version of, wow, I wonder if we could make this into like a cool project. So that ended up coming out great. So if we look in prompts, you'll find that there's a bunch of prompts in here. And the one we just worked on was jobs. And, there's others for the other components of the project. So let's see how our pipeline's doing. So if I do that, so this job, so now you'll notice that the pipeline is actually still being processed. This takes like 15 minutes to run, which is why I started at the beginning. But you can see that this is step 3. So let's do this. So you can see that, it starts with the pipeline overview. It goes into processing the groups, and you'll notice that it's got the reference pipeline and the certificate rotation. If we go back to Concourse, you will notice that there is reference pipeline group, certificate rotation group, which correspond to these 2 groups. And then you'll see all the jobs getting processed here from both of them. So, install opsman, blah, 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 blah. Same set of jobs here getting documented. So that continues to run. So now let's take a look at so let's take a look at the command now, or the document directory that's being created. So when we started this, I should have showed you, but when we started this, there's a directory called docs that is created. And this is basically for the actual pipelines that you are documenting. And so if I were to say tree docs, you'll see that this again is pretty clean and tidy. So what's happening is there's a document directory followed by the pipeline directory, followed by a groups directory. And then there's the 2 groups that are documented here, certificate rotation and reference pipeline, and the index file. And the index file just links to these 2 docs. There's the main index file, and this is the one that shows us the overview of the entire pipeline. And then the jobs. So this is in process, and all of these jobs now are being documented and recorded here. So let's take a look at one of these jobs. So if I were to say, I don't know, let's see, install opsman.
Okay.
So if we were to say glow, do you guys know glow?
I do not.
I do not either.
I think you'll like this.
Okay. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what it does.
Reference pipelines, jobs, and install opsman. Oh, what did I do wrong? Docs, reference pipeline, jobs, install opsman. That. So it's just a markdown viewer from the command
Very
line.
nice. That's
I
awesome.
use it a lot.
So
I learn something every time we do this show. I learn something
Mm-hmm.
new. So guess what I'm installing as soon as this gets done?
Yeah.
Glow's a nice one. And if you use the pager, it'll pipe it through less pager. So this is basically the result of the query that we sent, right? So it's like Concourse job documentation, install opsman, overview. So the thing that's kind of amazing about this pipeline, this project to me, is just what comes back. Like, I know not everybody's into AI and LLMs and stuff, and I get that, but man, the documentation is really pretty incredible. It's, put it this way, it's way better than I would have documented this personally, like way better. And it understands context and everything else. So, prepare to be amazed, I would say.
And you're not doing any type of training on this. You're not setting up a project and putting in, the concourse documentation itself for learning. This is just strictly out of the LLM.
Yeah.
At base.
Yep. This is not a RAG thing or, hasn't been fine-tuned, nothing. It's just straight up,
inference. Yeah.
OpenAI inference. Exactly. So let's take a quick look at this. The install ops man concourse job automates the process of installing and configuring the ops manager. It involves preparing the necessary tasks for images, downloading the ops manager product image, creating a virtual machine, configuring authentication and ops manager settings, and applying the director changes. Right. So it knows, like Opsman is Bosch deployed. It knows that there's a Bosch director. The job ensures a streamlined setup and export of the installation for future reference or replication. So that is a really pretty awesome description.
Yeah, that is.
And
because they were talking about the installation.zip, right? Like,
right.
Yeah. How's that? Oh, wow.
There's a lot. It's totally cool. And so what the prompt that we gave it attempts to do is it wants to break this into stages. So if we look at the bottom here, we get a printout of the entire job. So this is quite a large job, but we get the raw job definition, and the code does that for us. And so what I like is that it breaks this down into steps that are sort of easily consumable by the platform engineer. So it says, step 1, prepare the resources. So I didn't even tell them that we were preparing resources or doing any of that. It figured out that by looking just at this stage that it's preparing resources, which it is. So it pulls down the different images it needs. It provides the different parameters, and it gets these things, and it knows that it's doing it in parallel. And so it talks about that. The other kind of neat thing it does, and we'll see when the pipeline finishes, we'll run the web UI, and you'll see that it nicely links to the different resources that are defined in here. So it's super freaking cool.
Right. I gotta interrupt because Keith just came back on and said, "Wish I had this 7 to 8 years ago when I was managing such."
Oh my gosh.
Likewise, same.
Totally.
100% agree. I mean, we were back there documenting this stuff like it was 1895, and Joey's taking us in the future here.
Well,
who said we documented anything?
Well, I did. I didn't say I did it well, but I did.
Yeah. Or just a link to a Git repo. Good luck.
That's right.
Right.
Link back to the
code is the documentation.
All right, sorry, you can continue. We're so thrilled by what we're seeing here. So
yeah, so no, the other thing, okay, like imagine the case where you have, and I've been here personally. You have a customer, it's a bank or a financial institution, or perhaps a government customer, and you have audits, right? And so something that is really important for audits is documentation. And you get dinged if you don't have documentation for your code, for your pipelines, for all this stuff. And none of this is ever documented, right? Like nobody ever documents this stuff.
Yeah.
And so just for the audit piece of it, this is pretty freaking nice. So let me just check on how the other one is doing. Okay, so this thing finished. So
you're spot on the timing too. 14 minutes, 46 seconds.
Yeah. So, okay. So this finished running. So our pipeline, so this pipeline now is fully documented. So let's have a look at that. In order to, so there's a couple commands that we want to run now that are built into the CLI. So if I were to run build ConcourseGPT, just hit enter, this is going to give me the usage. For the command. So the next thing we want to do is we want to run the gen readme, and in ConcourseGPT gen readme. So what this does is it basically creates a landing page for all your pipelines. In this case, we only have one documented, but So you'll see it found the reference pipeline, and this just generates a a landing page for the project once you build the site. So if we look, this is what the directory structure continues to look like. And now I want to build the site. And I really like the MKDocs project. If you're familiar with MKDocs, and in particular, I like their material theme quite a bit. And once I run this, you'll be like, "Oh, I've seen that before." If you haven't already, so let's just run the build site command in ConcourseGPT build site, and so this builds an actual website for us. And then finally, we can serve this site. And so the site is now up and running. So let's go to this URL in our browser. And here we go. So yeah, pretty dope site, right?
Just from
Hey, put your hand in front of your camera there, Joey.
Yeah, we lost your focus.
Oh,
you're a little blurry.
Oh, you know what? Sorry, I think I'm using my phone for this.
Well, you're doing that. This is amazing. Now,
yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a couple statements here. So first and foremost, so ready-made, this is going to throw a website out there that you can push to whatever you want. Those that are looking that use maybe something else for a content management system, I could see this being very easily to put something like Front Matter in front of this and go ahead and send this out to your internal documentation. I see that. And just by looking at, how you use YQ, I can tell you right now, Joey, I'm going to be plagiarizing the crap out of you. I'm going to go look at this because I can see use cases for other products other than GPT. This is amazing, man.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, very. Yes.
So my homie Hossein, who is a PM with Tanzu, he did something similar. Us together, and really it's just an MVP for Kubernetes manifests, right? And so you can see the same kind of, it didn't actually build a site like this, but it writes the markdown stuff. So I think this is a really cool pattern for documenting things, and especially these ancient pipelines. Not ancient, but some of them are quite old. Like these.
Venerable.
Venerable. There we go. Yeah. These legacy legendary. Epic.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, so, and I'm also seeing using your pipelines to document your pipelines, right? As you're updating
totally, man.
Yeah, as you're updating things within your pipeline and having a Concourse job that runs through this so that you've always got the latest documentation with almost zero human intervention in this.
This is totally true. Like you don't need to run this CLI, build a little container image, run this thing and push it to wherever you want to push it, your documentation. And it's triggered off of commits to the pipeline repo. So anytime someone, makes a change to a pipeline, commits it, this thing runs and your documentation is just up to date. I mean, it's freaking cool.
You know that meme where it's like the galaxy, like mind explosion right now? That's where I'm at right now. I'm like
right.
Automated platform ops and automated platform documentation. It's awesome.
Well, and I'm going to go on a quick aside here, Joey. So, one of the things we've been doing a lot of talk about AI on this show because AI is a force multiplier when it comes to teams. This is an excellent example of that, right? A lot of people are saying, hey, AIs are going to take over developers. It's, that's not going to happen. What we are seeing is AI. If you're not using AI, you're going to slow down because you're still doing the mundane task. Nobody likes documentation. And the ones that are out there are very few, right? Something like this is a perfect use case for AI and how it's helping the team do the mundane so that they can focus on what they really want to do. They can focus on the complex problems, not writing this documentation. I am blown away by this. I truly am.
Yeah. Well, this is Concourse too. So it's like, we're not just talking Cloud Foundry here, although we know it's very near and dear to the Cloud Foundry heart, but you can run just general deployments to whatever in Concourse or really anything. Like it's a thing doer. So you can document whatever the thing it's doing. Like this is brilliant.
So,
Well,
okay, so let's actually do that while that's a perfect time for me to
look how excited you got us. Because I'm with
right?
Nick, right? So this is not just Concourse. I mean, you're building this off of YAML. The use cases are pretty big. I can't
Mhm.
wait to kind of dig into your GitHub and take a look at it and see how we can modify this, because this has got use cases way past Concourse. This has got use cases for anything that's using a formatted system. I imagine that this would be fairly easy to do something with like JSON and things of that nature as well.
You know what? Anything that it has, any file format that has structure like YAML or
Mhm.
JSON,
Mhm.
um, will work with this.
Yep.
Because you're providing it in chunks. The reason this is
Mhm.
so awesome, one of the reasons is because you just focus on the one chunk. Every request is like, hey, show me this chunk, show me that chunk, instead of like, here's a ginormous pipeline, please document this thing, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's much easier with the chunks, and honestly, getting the prompts right. So use the prompts that are in this project as an example. I spent a lot of time getting those
Yeah, you
happy.
definitely got your prompt engineering hat
Yeah,
certified extraordinaire for sure. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So just for the users out there, there's a directory called examples, and in the examples directory, there's just sort of like some pipeline examples that I put in there. So there's basic,
Mhm.
intermediate, and advanced. And just to Nick's point, if you look like this is not specific at all to Cloud Foundry, for example. So in the advanced directory, um, there is one called multi-env YAML, and
Mhm.
this is basically an application deployment to Kubernetes. It's not even Cloud Foundry, right? I just threw this in here because it's like, hey, this is something that Concourse does. Let's deploy an application to Kubernetes, and actually, it it deploys it to multiple environments in Kubernetes. Like the prod staging, or sorry, dev staging dev prod example.
Mhm.
It's got
Mhm.
like approval gates and version tracking and this kind of stuff, Slack notifications. It does the Docker image build, blah,
Mhm.
blah, blah. And
Yeah.
so let's just,
Well, this is a common pattern, whether you're Cloud Foundry,
yeah,
Kubernetes, or whatever thing. Like
exactly.
the multiple yeah, very very useful.
Right. So that's in there. We can play around with that. So anyway, let's take a look at this
Mhm.
thing that got generated. So this is the reference pipeline. Again, this thing is well over 1,000 lines of code,
Mhm.
or 1,000 lines of YAML. And remember when we broke the initial overview up into several chunks, set the
Mhm.
chunks, got summaries. We sent the summaries back and got a whole overview. So this is the overview of this particular pipeline. So um, again, it's so insightful coming back from the AI. The Concourse pipeline is designed to automate platform operations, focusing on the install, configuration, upgrade process within cloud environments. It streamlines tasks such as configuring systems, applying changes, running errands, and managing certificates, thereby enhancing blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
So it talks about the job grouping, parallel execution, what it likes about it. There's some sequential task execution, conditional triggers. It defines all that stuff. It then links to the different um, sections of the pipeline, right?
Mhm.
So let's have a look at the secrets, the pipeline secrets. And you get a pretty nice table here that's pretty freaking awesome that tells you, like, these are the secrets that exist in this pipeline.
Well,
Um,
that is really cool.
right? It's super cool. And it tells you, the secret name, the description, and where it's used. So in this case, we're using the SSL CA certificate in these
Mhm.
resources. These resources,
Right.
call this thing. So,
Yeah,
back
so
to
when you
groups.
have to rotate a secret, you know where to like where it's
Yep.
what it's going to break, right? Or what
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah.
very
Like
cool.
this, it doesn't exist grouped like this in the pipeline. So you would have to like do
Yep.
a search,
Right, right, yeah.
whatever. So
When it's
so
I am
3 o'clock at
blown
night and
away.
something broke, it's just
Yeah.
good.
yeah,
It's so much easier to try to figure out what's going on versus try to
right,
manually grep through some files or something. Oh man, very nice.
for sure. it groups them real nicely. You know, it knows this is, you know, the S3 bucket for install files. You know, it's pretty deep. So then it defines our groups, you know, and we saw these in the Concourse UI. We have the certificate rotation and the reference pipeline. And the reference pipeline group is designed to manage the lifecycle of a VMware Tanzu application installed. It handles the installation, configuration, validation of, you know, different components. So again, this I've read through these in detail. It's freaking awesome. Like the stuff that comes back, it's super useful for, you know, platform engineers. So let's take it down to the jobs, because honestly, I feel like these
show me a job.
Yeah.
Well,
so let's look
the
at
amount of documentation. Wow, this is amazing. All right.
Right.
All right.
So each job is broken out. And so like, let's look at, I don't know, create root CA. So again, it prints out the raw job definition here at the bottom, which is nice. This is the whole job definition for this particular job. And then it breaks it into steps for us. So step 1, prepare the platform automation resources. It shows us just this bit. It tells us which resources are accessed. And this was the thing I was talking about before. It links to the actual resources. So in this menu, we have resources and all the resources here, but there's links. So if I were to click on this platform automation image, boom, it takes me to the resource, which is just pretty, you know, pretty freaking cool. And this is fully documented too. And again, if you read these, I won't sit here and read these, but I'm just telling you that the content is pretty amazing. And even teaches old people like me. It's like, oh yeah, it does that. And it's kind of like, what are the inputs and outputs here? Where else are they used? And so, you know, you really get a nice site with a lot of documentation. Again, it breaks it into steps, which I like. Step 1, you know, for this particular job, fetch required resources. Step 2, prepare tasks with secrets. Talks you through that. Links to the different resources in this step. Tells you about the stuff, the actions performed, and it also tells you, you know, the inputs and the outputs here, and it gives you the relationships to the other steps in the pipeline. So it's honestly pretty mind-blowing stuff, and it's got a nice little nav over here to get around.
I've already got an email list of people that I'm going to send this link to the show. This is going to be huge. Like you said, definitely in regulated industries. I mean, you've just taken months of work out of somebody,
absolutely.
you know, to get this done. And I'm also seeing, you know, we were talking about being able to use this in other places. You know, Nick, I'm sure you were the same. When I was a platform engineer, I wrote a lot of scripts that used the CFCLI, used JSON and JQ to break those out. This is a way to go in and document those scripts as well. And that's something nobody does.
Yeah. I also wrote a lot of scripts and never documented them. So,
well, it's funny, man. Once the pipeline turns green, you're like, all right, I'm done. I'm not documenting this.
See you,
I'll
bye.
do that later.
I'll get to the docs later. It's like, that's been my life motto, right?
And it never fails. You're on vacation, the pipeline goes red, and people call you, and you're like, oh, go read the doc. Oh, I didn't do that.
Right.
Whoopsies. You're like, so like this is I think you've kind of building a framework for just like general purpose, like
for sure. This definitely shows
the
possibilities. So before we conclude, I just want to show you kind of one last thing, and particularly for the audience. So what job is this? Let's do this. This is the apply new CA job. Okay. So let me do this. Let me remove that job file. So I'll find docs, blah, 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 jobs, or not find. Let's just do this. Remove docs.
Oops.
What is going on?
You had something flash up on your keyboard or something like a catalog. I don't know.
I don't know. Let's see. Reference pipeline, jobs, and this was apply new CA. So we're going to remove this markdown file. Then we're going to add to the prompt. So I would like to add something to the prompt. So let's vim the prompts jobs markdown, and I'm going to add a section here. And this is just to sort of demonstrate how easy it is to hack the system. And so the I'm asking now the LLM, give me some improvement suggestions here. Don't just document this thing. Tell me how to improve this job, right?
Yeah. You already wowed me, but I think you're gonna wow me again here. So yeah, let's see what we got here.
Okay, so we're adding this, and it's not quite formatted properly. I definitely don't need to do this, but I'm doing it anyway. All right, so now I've asked the LLM to improve that, and I made this thing idempotent because these things can take forever to run. So if I were to just rerun this, it will skip everything else and just rebuild that particular file. So let's do that. So bin generate, and we put that reference pipeline in, I think, examples, advanced reference pipeline. So let's say, so you'll notice, I think that didn't do what I wanted. Let me see here. We did remove that file, though.
I think you did. You ls the file. Did you rm it on another screen?
Oh, I didn't rm it. You're right. So let's remove that. Okay. So now let's rerun, and you will see that it skips everything else, and it's rebuilding just this file, which is kind of nice.
Well, not only if you are using the public SaaS hosted LLMs, this is going to save you tokens, right?
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Right.
Very cool.
Good point.
And time, right?
Yeah.
So now a question on that, when we were talking about, so with skipping this, is that configurable? You know, when we're talking about constantly updating your documentation, is it going to see that something's there and skip it, even though there may be changes, or?
So I would just nuke it. I would nuke the whole thing and just have it, start over.
Yeah, remove the, okay. Yep.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Okay, so that ran. So let's take another look at our jobs, and that was apply new CA. Oh, I think this isn't running. Oh, it is running. Let's see if that got read.
It wouldn't be a true demo if everything worked perfectly the first time, Joey.
That's how we learn.
That's right.
So I don't know why. I feel like that file should be there. Let me reload this.
Right up there at the top, apply new CA. Yep.
Okay, here we go. So you'll notice there's a section now. Yeah, that was my browser.
Yeah. We'll blame Chrome for everything.
Totally. So now there's a section potential improvements.
Oh boy.
So you can go through these, and it'll talk you through them. So it'll add some increased parallel execution.
Cool.
So basically, I won't even get into what it's trying to tell me to do, because it'll take me a minute to get my head around that. But you get the idea. You can go in here, you can hack the prompt, and you can and improve actually the pipelines. And there he is,
Tony.
So speaking of the devil, so Tony, we've already brought your name up once, but as part of this is something we're giving you. I'm going to refer back to this. We'll put this in the show notes, but for people that are just getting started, or people that are looking to revise their platforms, first and foremost, go watch Tony's episode on how to set up your reference architecture, get everything set up right. So Tony's going to help you get Concourse running. And then once you get it done, we've got what Joey's showing us here to help you document it and keep that documentation up to date. This, between the two of these, this is going to be a class series. I can absolutely tell you.
And I mean, and like I was messaging Joey before the show. I was like, do you have what you need to demo? It's like, because I don't have a Concourse right now. And he's like, don't worry, I got it. And I was like, man, I need to go install me a Concourse and get this thing running and see what I can do with it. Because I'm already starting to have these handful of different demo environments and like documenting it and just, obviously the whole management of it all. I'm excited.
I was saving that for the end of the show because I was like,
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, Nick's going to be up late tonight, making sure he's got a couple concourses to run through things. And I guarantee you he'll be playing with this tonight.
Yeah, this is
if you're anywhere near,
well done.
You're going to see
well
the
done.
lights go dim when his data center starts working hard. So,
well,
Hey,
they already
I
are.
happily accept PRs. I happily
Yes.
take PRs. Oh, you know what? Sorry. There's a little button here. So just to finish up, there's a little button here that will change the view, and this whole thing is searchable. So if I were to use Slack or I don't know, let's see.
all right, I got to ask, what did you create?
What?
What did you use to what framework did you use to create the website?
What is this? This is awesome. Like, what is this?
Right.
Yeah.
This thing it's like a freaking product practically. It's all open source. This is MK Docs. So this
MK
is
Docs.
MK Docs. Yeah.
Okay. So you just ran that to generate this, and then the MK Docs is this just like a static file being hosted? Like
so it's a set of static files. So it builds so I don't know if we're over time.
throw
Do
this?
you guys care?
No, we're fine.
No,
If
keep
you're
going.
good,
This
we're
is
good.
amazing.
Yeah.
I'm totally good. So I'll just show you that when you run the ConcourseGPT command, there's one called build site, and this builds the MKDocs site from the documentation. And that's, there's a file in here, source MKDocs generate. So this thing looks through your directory structure and builds out the MKDocs file. So that ends up building this file. And so again, this is dynamically generated based on, what your structure looks like. And so it adds all the links, all the jobs, blah, blah, blah. So every time, if there was another pipeline in here, that would end up being in this MKDocs file as well. And the script builds that MKDocs file and then, serves it properly. So that's how that MKDocs thing gets generated, and that ends up, giving you a pretty dope looking site.
Yeah.
Yep.
So can you just serve that on the static build file, build pack then, like on Cloud Foundry? You think?
Yes, you could.
Oh, because then not only could you have the whole job documented, and then you could push it to CF, and here it's hosted.
Dude.
Right? Yeah. Boom.
Yep.
Boom. Yeah.
This is absolute. And to think, I almost wasn't able to make this show because of the time change, which I forgot and called us Thursday. But man, I am glad I was able to make this work because this is amazing, Joey.
Very cool.
I really do think that you and Tony should get together. Unfortunately, I think the talk tracks have already closed for Cloud Foundry Day. But man, the two of you doing this at Cloud Foundry Day. I think you would. Well, I mean, you blew our minds. You're going to blow minds with this episode, but man, I think you'd get a really, really good reception from something like Cloud Foundry Days or any kind of DevOps days with this.
Yes, 100%. I think we could follow up with Ram too. I think he might be doing some. He does some live streams as well from the CFF side, so this would be really interesting for sure.
Hey, anybody that watches this that wants a sesh demo, I'd be happy to do it. It's honestly really fun.
Awesome.
And more importantly, again, we're going to go back to open source. You're making this community. He accepts PR requests. I mean, you start getting something that's already a diamond. I can't wait to see people that jump into this and start polishing it up even more.
Word.
I can't imagine all the for the being a platform engineer today, having this available, just like, hey, you can document everything basically in a few minutes. Like, can you imagine how much work this would have taken if you had to do it by hand?
Months. Absolutely.
Could you even do it? I mean, this is just one pipeline.
Yeah.
One.
Well, I think about everybody who has their complex multi-foundation app deployments and things, and that's all custom to them.
Totally.
Right?
Right.
And, this is a key point. So I 100% agree with what you said earlier, Joey. It's been a thing of my career. I am a lazy man too. I will work really hard on something to make sure I never have to do it again. And you created something that you're going to save a lot of companies. Like I said, I've already got a whole laundry list of people I'm going to send this episode to, because I know people that will absolutely use this. Regulated industries are absolutely going to want this. Fed industries, if they're using, they're going to want this. This is amazing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, anybody that does, I think my phone's dying here. Maybe I can switch cameras somehow.
You're back.
You're back.
This is my laptop cam. So
there you go.
Not only are you taking away the friction and the mundaneness of having to document this, you're creating a website that does a really good job of displaying that visually, and you gave people dark mode. I mean, you kind of hit the trifecta of what people are looking for.
Yeah, you give them both, right?
Yep.
Totally.
Some people not a huge fan of the dark mode, right?
No, I had to build. Honestly, I had to build that in because I am a huge fan, and I was like, this is not acceptable.
I'm with you. Not everybody likes dark mode, and they're wrong. But that's
I agree.
But the fact that you got that toggle right on and off, brilliant. Yeah, very nice.
Yeah. And at the very bottom, it says this documentation was generated by an AI, just so people know. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's important to let people know that this whole thing is AI generated. And
so that's solid.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
you blew my mind. This is. Yeah, we'll sit here and I'll just give you kudos for the next 20 minutes if you allow me. This is amazing. I wish, we said, where was this like 7 or 8 years ago? 100% agree. I wish it was there, but AI wasn't prevalent then. But this is just a wonderful example of how AI is going to be a force multiplier for all devs, and not just devs, but content marketers, the documentation guys. If you're not using it, you need to be, because it's not going to take your job. It's just going to make you better at it.
Yeah. I mean, in most cases, this documentation would never get generated. So it's doing something that you would just never have. So like, it's just,
you know, it's funny, man. I can tell like your excitement, both of you, is like so funny because it's exactly how I felt, but it's like the true platform engineers are like, this is freaking awesome. Like if you showed this to someone that maybe didn't have the platform engineering and hadn't sweat out all these pipelines and testing and failures and blah, 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 you don't get quite as excited. But if you've been in the trenches, you're like, this is freaking awesome. Like, this is amazing.
I want to say it one more time. Episode 14, go look at Tony Elmore's. He's going to show us how to put this together in a way that's resilient and makes sense and that's modular. And then this episode, again, we'll link to this in the show notes, but then Joey's going to tell you, once you create, that ultimate pipeline with Tony, Joey's going to show you how to document it so that you keep your bosses and the auditors off your back. This is great. I'm going to be talking about this way outside of just this show.
Well, and then I'll give, I'm going to plug your blog, Joey. I just threw it in link in the chat. And then also this is an excellent project. You have many projects out on your blog. So go check out Joey's blog. I want to link out specifically another blog as well. You sent me this a while ago and I thought it was pretty incredible. Doing something with the, you're doing like text to speech stuff with radios and things. So you got a demo out there and everything. So if you, that, unrelated to Cloud Foundry per se, but a pretty just generally pretty cool thing to check out as well. So
yeah, that one's fun.
There's going to quickly become a time where the way that we interface with our computers and with our servers changes with AI, and the fact that we're going to quit using some of the traditional ways of interfacing, IDEs, web documentation, things of that nature, where we're going to start using natural language to just communicate, tell it what we want it to do, and AI is going to do it for us. Is that going to be in the next 6 months? We're going to start seeing it in the next 6 months. How long is it going to take to become prevalent? I don't know, but I think it's going to be, sooner rather than later. This is a great example of that.
I was going to say, I think we just saw it.
Right?
Yeah. And it's all these lazy engineers that are like, I'm not documenting that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it's
Well,
not
now-
necessarily
wanna
lazy.
do.
It's just like they have so many things to do, and it's like they
Yeah.
get through the current fire, right? Like I remember, like, cause I was I was a platform engineer for, I don't know, 10 plus years, or the last job I was at, I was there for 13 and a half, and probably doing Cloud Foundry stuff for about 10 years. But like I remember when I left, like that very engineering operational role, like I'm just like, hey, it's Saturday, 3 o'clock. It's just I'm on some random. I'm not on an outage call right now. I'm not like just it took me like 3 to 6 months after leaving that very very heavy operational role where I was just like, why am I not, like, I'm not working like 80 hours a week, or I'm not working on the weekends or at night, because it just I don't have a pager anymore, right? Like it was almost like some weird like, I don't know, like a phantom, like I should be on my brain's like, why aren't you on some kind of outage call right now? Or I don't know. So yeah, like the platform engineers are very busy. So, and then unfortunately docs kind of fall to the wayside because they're just constantly, jumping through fires, right?
Let's call that out. There's
Yeah.
not everybody's going to see this show, and there's a lot of platform engineers that will. You want to impress your bosses, go tell them that, hey, I documented everything over the weekend because I got bored, and you're welcome. Look at me. I'm a hero. Yeah. They don't need to know that Joey did most of the work for you and that AI did the rest of it. They don't need to know that.
Yeah.
Just take the kudos, be the hero for a while.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hit me with the Venmo.
Yeah.
There
you go.
Some time.
Put that on Buy Me a Coffee.
Yeah,
right?
Buy Me a Coffee. Yeah, do you have a Buy Me a Coffee on your blog or something?
No.
You should. Imagine that you probably get inundated with coffees when people start playing with this, especially engineers that use this. Yeah. So I will go ahead and say, so all the things that we just put out that are showing up on the screen right now, we're going to go ahead and get those linked into the show notes. So you'll have a good way to get it. We're going to break this up and we'll put this into the show notes and some chapters here as well. But amazing work, Joey. This is absolutely amazing. This is probably the most excited I've been since I actually talked to Tony or some of the AI stuff that Nick's done. It's amazing what we're being able to bring on this show.
Yeah. And then I did throw Tony's link in there as well to his session as well.
Yep. Yeah. Tony's a legend and taught me a lot about all this stuff. Like Tony is a legend, a mentor, and I really appreciate him. And, his friendship over the years, like the guy is just totally amazing. And it's great to see you on the call, Tony. Let's catch up soon.
Same. And community, you heard him. He takes PR requests. Go look at this. Figure out what you want to do. I think this has the possibility of being a really big project for a lot of people. And especially when you start looking at use cases. Yeah, we're talking about Concourse here, but I already see a couple where I'm going to be looking at this for use cases outside of Cloud Foundry as well. And
then I guess one more shout out to Joey. You're the one who kind of brought me on to the whole open web UI thing. Because I remember you sending me a message. I don't know. It was a while ago now, but like, hey, you should check out this thing. Or like, I was like, well, what is this thing? So
I've been watching you get through that. So
thanks.
Yeah. Are you going to do a part 3 on that one with like RAG stuff or?
I don't. I mean,
who knows?
Yeah, we need to. I can't even keep up with the project because I feel like every time I push it, it's on a new version, and like I just read the release notes and. I was just like, wow, the lots of activity happening there. I've seen some things with like, they're like people are trying to bring in like an MCP bridge to it and like have it like almost like an MCP marketplace as well. Oh, that'd be pretty interesting too. Yeah,
Agentic AI, it's a thing. Keep your eyes out. Nick, I'll be talking to you about promoting. So we're getting ready to do some talks about exactly that topic, and when those go out, I'll make sure and let you know and. We'll push those out as well. But, there's some cool things going on with development and agentic AI as well. So keep your mind out. I'm going to make some announcements probably here in the next week or two.
Perfect. All right. Joey, any closing thoughts to the show for our community? Yeah, I mean, you're welcome back anytime you want to come back on. But do you want to leave the audience with a message or anything you're thinking of next, that type of thing?
Not really, man. My brain is kind of cooked.
Well, You've been doing a lot of work. You've been doing a lot of work.
Well, I want everybody to look at. I want y'all to look at Joey's. What's behind Joey? Those are French doors, and the reason for that is because he needs a double wide door to get that big brain out into his hall.
Oh man, thanks for that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I guess with that note, we can wrap up the show. But before that, we'll have our obligatory. I've got my like and subscribe pillow here.
Make sure you like and subscribe.
Yeah,
you wouldn't hear about
Joey.
Really
get it in the screen. I don't know. I got to get a smaller pillow. I like Dan's pillow better. But yeah, check us out, cloudfounderweekly.com. That's our main podcast page, so you could consume us via any podcast player of choice. Our YouTube channel at Cloud Foundry Weekly. And now we do things on various social medias as well. So yeah,
all the links will be in the show notes, along with, go check out Nick's website. You got my website, reach out to us. If there's anything that you still want some, clarification on, or you want to dig a little bit deeper in, let us know. We'll bring that up. If you got questions for Joey, either reach out to him on LinkedIn. We'll put, as long as Joey's okay with it, we'll put his LinkedIn address up there in the show notes as well, or reach out to us and we'll make sure that happens.
Perfect. All right. Now, you said you watch a lot. Final question. Quiz. Do you know how we close the show?
I might not make it to the end every time.
It's okay. We'll give you that. We close it with a CF buy. So I'll do a 3, 2, 1, and then we'll do a CF buy. Okay?
All right.
3, 2, 1.
CF buy.
CF buy.